Hello and welcome to Shelf Centered. Thanks for stopping by. I got me a helper today. Hey, helper, give me 5. Yeah. All right, we did top 10 fantasy last week. It's time for top 10 science fiction. I am an equal opportunity SFF fan. I love them both. So this one is top 10 science fiction. Let's jump into it. Jumping in. Evie, help me jump in. Jump in. All right. First book is we are going with, it's the Red Rising saga. I don't actually have, it's the only one I don't have some kind of physical representation of it because I read the whole series in audiobook. Thank you, my beautiful Vanna White. Red Rising is the series, but the book I'm going with, I'm going with the same kind of qualifications as last time. I think if I do include a series, I'm just going to include one of it. It lets me cheat a little bit on the top 10 because there's so many. It's so hard to narrow these down. You got to forgive me a little bit here. Golden Sun, I think, is my favorite of the series. That was the one where it really kicks off. I don't want to go into too much for fear of spoiling Red Rising itself, but what a good series that just, for some reason, it's marketed as YA, but I don't think it really actually should be or is. It's pretty brutal, but it's like Hunger Games, but like if they really went for it. I don't know. That's maybe a terrible description of it because it's not Hunger Games. It's very, especially Golden Sun, gets very political and brutal and very emotional in ways that a love triangle just cannot do. that he does really well. All right, number 9, because we got a list going. Number 9, we're going with Ender's Game. That was the one I tricked my daughter into handing me first, so whoops. Number 9 is Ender's Game. I've really enjoyed this series. I hate this cover, I'm sorry. It just happens to be what I own. I have the book technically, I guess. I like the Ender's Game series. The Ender's Shadow, I think I like even better, although I'm only 2 books into it, so we'll see. But this is just, it's a classic. And I think you probably will understand, some of my likes from other series that I like the Cradle series with Lyndon, how he has all these obstacles to overcome, and he just takes them in stride. He does them. I like that sense in Ender's Game, where it's, let's challenge this guy. Am I boring you? And he just takes one challenge after the next, and it's not like, oh, let's coddle this poor little boy. It's, all right, he just passed our hardest challenge, let's get harder. And I really like that about it. But also just the emotions at the end, and I won't get into that, but just how it, anyway, it's a bit of a twist. I don't think it's really known for being a twisty book, but definitely a bit of a twist there. All right, this is a recent read of mine, and I think definitely this series belongs on the list. This will be Chasm City, Alistair Reynolds. I really, really liked this book. I think I'm partly giving this a nod in this top 10 list because of how much I liked Revelation Space as well. And this just, it's a prequel to that. It's so in-depth. I like Alistair Reynolds has this ability to do like a hard-boiled noir in a far future that just feels futuristic. It's got people that have combined themselves with machines, but also like this idea that, people in the future will probably be against that, and there will be certain factions against it, and just kind of tying in our own biases into all the stuff, all of what the future will definitely be bringing, because I doubt we're going to be able to get past some of these ridiculous things that we still have sticking around. So, and if not getting worse in some ways, so, and exacerbated by the future. But these just really, really in depth, interesting, just so foreign that it really is this futuristic science fiction book. It's so good and hard sci-fi. And from hard sci-fi we go to hilarious sci-fi for number, let's see, what are we on? Number 7? Am I right about that? Do I know how to count? Number 7, I was right. Yeah, I'm gonna do some editing, yo. All right, you were right. You were right. Okay. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This belongs in any list because I challenge you to find a line in this book that isn't quotable. It is so just... I understand why Douglas Adams is known for having developed writer's block later in his career, because there's so much to these books. Everything is hilarious and is just, it's so perfectly done. And I think...
Why does the book have butt cheeks on it too?
That's just, I know. It's... All right. I'm sorry. All right. I don't know. That's an artist rendering. That's funny. Okay. So, anyway, speaking of hilariousness, I'm looking at you. So, anyway, this definitely belongs on the list, on anyone's list. And again, I don't know if I said this, so it might not be again. The rereadability of a book or a series, it ranks high and gives books really high rankings in my book, in my shelf centered. So we're going with that one, because that one you can just reread over and over again. This is taking me forever to get to the next thing. Sorry. All right, next book, number 6, because I can count. Here's number 6. Definitely can count. Ouch. Starship Troopers. It's been a while, okay? And I remember just being glued to this book. I could not put it down, and that's really why it's ranking so high. I honestly don't remember a ton about it. I know its reputation now, but I'm just being honest here that I just remember really being just hooked on this book, and it was really good, and just not, I think, what I was ready for either, but it's such an interesting take anyway on the future, on war, and I'm still ranking this high, mostly just because I'm a mood reader. This is gut feeling. Oops. This is a bit of a cheat. Not really, not a cheat. The cheat is that I'm holding up the wrong book. It was really close, but this is Kurt Vonnegut Jr. It was either between Breakfast of Champions and Sirens of Titan. I had to go with Sirens, even though I'm holding up Breakfast. But I will pop up Sirens. Sirens is just, it was my first Vonnegut, and maybe that has something to do with it. I was laughing hysterically from the moment that he introduces a scientific concept to the reader by using the children's encyclopedia, a chronosynclastic infundibulum. I think I might have gotten that right. It's been a while. That is amazing. I still remember it. But that's why, I literally, that'll tell you. I remember it so clearly because it's so good. But anyway, I had this though. It was close. It was really close. This is another good one though. I don't even know how to describe it. I need to do a reread because it's so good. This is my last kind of a little bit of a cheat in the fact that I lent out the book and I totally forget that I do that. And so the book is with a friend and I don't have it, and now I'm filming a video. So this is going to be, it's the Acts of Cain series. But the book I really meant to put into this list is the Blade of Tishell. I would have been holding Heroes Die had I had that. Blade of Tishell is so hard to find in print anyway. And then, so it's not even replaceable. And then on top of it, I do have it on Kindle as well, because this is what I do. I own multiple versions of these books. Don't tell my wife. What? And so, but I do have this one and the next one. So I thought I'd throw this one in there at least. I need to read it actually. But this series is, holy cow. There is not an author alive, I believe, that can plot like Matthew Stover. His Revenge of the Sith, the movie novelization to that Star Wars movie, is just I didn't realize that you could like a movie novelization as much as I do that book, and that'll tell you. I mean, and I've seen the movie, and he does such a good job with getting into the heads of these characters and just powerfully. So then on top of it, he does characters well, and Cain especially, and Blade of Tishell it's so crazy, and I don't want to get into too much because again, that's a sequel. It would be spoiler, but it's From Heroes Die, and the way I describe this series, that I'm like, you have to try it out because it's so brilliant. It just makes you want to read it. So the future, so it's like science fiction fantasy. It is the future. They find this fantasy realm, and so what do? They find out you can get to this fantasy realm, and you can practice magic there, and so of course, what does this future do? Exploits the crap out of it. And so they send these actors, and it's all in this, anyway, the future has this like crazy caste system, where an actor isn't too bad off, but they're not at the top of it, of the caste system. So they send actors into this fantasy realm and they filmed, right? So it's like the people watching are watching it through their eyes, and naturally they have to be entertaining, and especially if all you're doing is these people living through you, so you have to be entertaining all the time. And so they just start wreaking havoc on this fantasy world to have entertaining adventures. And so it's all these adventures, and then Cain is like the Mac Daddy of them all, and he's just so famous. He's named it's Harry in the in regular world, in future world, but he's Cain the Black Knife in the fantasy world. It's nuts, and it's so good. You have to try it and just experience this just craziness. Sorry, I've been went off on that one for a while. All right, this right here. I don't know if you saw that. Number 3. That was number 4. This is number 3. I don't even know if I said number 4. Number 3, Hyperion. You're going to get to some where you're going to be like, well, the doy here, these next couple. But not the first one. I think you might be surprised by my first one, and especially because it might not be the last Dan Simmons. Whoops. So Hyperion, I think anyone who's read it will, they get it. I understand it's kind of the same like framework as Canterbury Tales, which I still need to read. Just not high on my list right now, sadly. But having read this, it goes, I do want to read Canterbury Tales now because of how much I liked this. It's all these pilgrims are going to the time tombs, and it slowly shares their story as they're on this pilgrimage to the time tombs. And you get one person after the other that tells their story. So they're literally just telling their story, then it goes into their story. And it's like as soon as you start, when you're kind of like, well, I want to go back to the other guys. And then you're like into this story, and you're like, all right, I'm totally into it. And then it jumps to, you go to the next one, you're like, I have questions though. And so then you're jumping on to the next one. So it's so great. Fall of Hyperion is a little rough because it's just not the same. It's like totally different. It's more straightforward, I guess, of a plot. But this one is just so well done. There's the Shrike. I mean, the Shrike. Come on, look at that Shrike. Anyway, it's so good. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, this is number 2. Yep, it's not number 1. We're close, but number 2. Dune. This is I'm on a reread slowly. Can you imagine that? A bit off more than I could chew lately. All right, number 2, Dune. I mean, we're all ready for the movie. I can't wait. It looks so dang good. Of course, I'm rereading, even though that breaks my rule of not rereading directly before a movie, because I feel like you're not going to get the ultimate satisfaction from both mediums. You're going to be critiquing the movie based on what you just read, instead of if you've read it far enough with enough distance, I guess, between, enough time in between, I should say. And if you've read it with enough time in between, then you're just kind of going, oh, look at this movie. I remember that part. That was a cool part. Oh, I remember this person. As opposed to reading it right before, you're going, wait, what? They didn't even have an ornithopter, which they do, at least in the previous. But anyway, I hate to do that, but at the same time, I can't deny the excitement. It's all there. I'm so excited. What else more can be said about Dune? It's a classic for a reason. I just think you get into, the Fremen, you're into their lives so much. It's so brilliant, and you start going, all right, I waste too much water. And when you do that in your daily life while you're reading a book, you know that you're into that book. All right, number one. I think this might surprise you. Boom! It's like magic. How did I do magic? Was it magic?
No.
Number one. We made it. Number one. This is one. I told you there'd be more. Dan Simmons, Ilium. This is just the nuttiest. It's a duology. Ilium. I think I have the other one. Ilium and Olympus. Olympos. All right. So Ilium. If you just to describe this to someone, it's like Shakespeare mixed with the Trojan War in a far distant future with actual gods, and it's so nuts. You're like, how does this work with all these moving pieces? There's flying cars, and I almost said something that might be a spoiler, but just, it's so good. I cannot describe this, and I cannot recommend it enough. I've probably said that a couple times on this list, but these are the top 10, so you're going to get lots of recommendations here. So cannot recommend Ilium enough. You got to do it. It's worth it. It's a duology. It's quick. That's it. It's just 2 800 to 1,000 page books or something like that.
So there's 100 books of those?
No, there's just 2, dude. Cannot recommend it enough, though, and you got to do it. That's number one. It's number one for a reason. So, hey, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for sticking around to the top. Thanks for fast forwarding to the top. I see you. Okay. Just don't forget to like, subscribe.
You have 100 books in your bookshelf?
Probably more.
Probably like 1,100.
Mm-hmm.
You mean 50,000? 100?
Yeah, maybe not that much. All right. So, what do you tell them? Don't forget to
subscribe
and what else? To like?
To like is
yeah. Perfect. Give 5. All right. Hey, thank you guys. Take care. Bye.